Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Talk, the podcast that talks about all the nerdy things that you like to hear about. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon, or more specifically, everything that has happened in about the past month. There have been a lot of things announced between the Pokemon press conference and then the Sword and Shield Direct, and I want to cover all of it so that you're sort of caught up on everything that has happened in the wonderful world of Pokemon. One of the first things talked about was the Detective Pikachu game sequel. Now, many of you probably remember playing Detective Pikachu on your 3DS. The game ended with a sort of a cliffhanger, and it sounds like Detective Pikachu's sequel will finally finish up that story. Now, no doubt this was inspired by the recent success of the movie Detective Pikachu that I personally saw and loved. It was amazing to see all these different Pokemon come to life in a world where humans and Pokemon live side by side, and not have it animated for once. Detective Pikachu's sequel will be a Switch-exclusive title. Now, many fans were probably hoping to see the original Detective Pikachu make a port over onto the Switch. Now, that's not out of the question, but it looks like for now, the sequel will be the only thing making its way onto the Switch. Another thing discussed at the Pokemon press conference was the establishment of a couple new Pokemon Centers. These are merchandise stores that are sort of designed like a Pokemon Center. They're going to be opening up one in Singapore, Shanghai Airport, and then the second is due to open in Tokyo's Shibuya district, and that'll actually happen in 2019. Aside from opening up a couple new Pokemon Centers, it's also been announced that there is now a clothing line that has to do with Pokemon. Now, I know, of course, there are plenty of graphical tees out there, and there's other non-official items, but now there is an official Pokemon-themed clothing line with 151 different shirts, each one featuring one of the 151 original Pokemon. Now, they're going to soon be offered in North America and Europe, and I, for one, am definitely getting one. And it might just be a certain little red salamander. If you want to see all the designs now, just head on over to Original Stitch website, and that's where you can find all the 151 designs for the new Pokemon t-shirts. A smaller update had to deal with Nintendo's other mobile game. Now, I'm not talking about Mario Run or Pokemon Go here, but rather Pokemon Quest. It's a free beat-em-up game that features little tiny cuboid-like versions of the Pokemon, and they're pretty cute. Now, the announcement here was that the game is finally coming to China. There are more than 1.7 million Chinese players already pre-registered at the time of the press conference. Now, we can only assume that that number has gone up, but it looks like soon Pokemon Quest will have a lot more players. The next item to talk about is Pokemon Home. This is the new cloud sharing service that will be replacing Pokemon Bank for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I say that because while you can transfer to and from Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, Pokemon Home will not allow the transfer of to and from any of the previous titles. So yes, this does mean that that one Pokemon that you've been trading up since the days of Emerald or Sapphire, or maybe even further back, can be brought into Pokemon Shield or Pokemon Sword, but you can't start sending them back. It's kind of obvious, since there's no way that the new Pokemon Sword and Shield Pokemon can be put back onto the older games. So Pokemon Home will be replacing Pokemon Bank. Now, it's currently unknown if there will be any costs with it. Pokemon Bank was only $5 a year, so I can't imagine that the price would be too steep, and maybe it'll be free. I just don't know. My personal hope is that it'll be free, because even $5 a year is an extra drink at Starbucks. An interesting bit of information is that the Pokemon you catch in Pokemon Go can also be added to Pokemon Home and then sent to Sword and Shield. This is very similar to when you could transfer your Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu. Now, personally, I'm excited for that because why shouldn't I be able to catch and play Pokemon at all times? Whether I'm at home with my Switch or out walking around, I just want to catch them all. One of the advantages to switching over to Pokemon Home is that it's not tied to a specific device. Pokemon Bank was designed for the 3DS, and as such, along with the death of the 3DS, it's gone by the wayside as well. There's also going to be a mobile app to access Pokemon Home with, which means that you can trade your Pokemon from your phone that you had on Sword and Shield. It's just another way to open up the flexibility of allowing you to access your Pokemon anywhere and not have to run the risk of closing down another Pokemon storage system and to create a new one when the new console comes out. This next one, it's a bit of a weird one. With the success of Pokemon Go, it's only natural that they'd be looking for ways to Pokemonify other actions. First it was walking or running, and now it's sleeping. The way Pokemon sleep appears to work is that there's a new device called the Pokemon Go Plus Plus. That's right, 2 pluses in the name. Now this is a sort of flat, Pokeball-shaped item that I guess you have in the bed with you and transports your data via Bluetooth to your smartphone. So it records how your sleep was, much in the same way that a Fitbit or an Apple Watch will tell you if you had a restful sleep or not. There's not a whole lot known about Pokemon sleep, like, why would I do this? Why is this a good investment? Will I get some cool rewards or catch some Pokemon while sleeping? I don't know. But for sure, we can expect more information on that to be coming along, and also, it's just a pretty wild concept. Gamifying sleeping? So the final announcement that we got from the Pokemon press release was about another smartphone game which was titled Pokemon Masters. Pokemon Masters is set on an all-new island region called Pageo, and it's here that Pokemon trainers from throughout the world are coming to participate in the Pokemon Masters League tournament. This tournament has a special rule though. Instead of being allowed to carry the normal 6 Pokemon with you, you only get 1. Now, a Pokemon and their trainer together are called a sync pair, and as you travel throughout the Pageo region, you'll be able to team up with other sync pairs, and then you'll control the entire team on 3-on-3 battles with other AI opponents. And much like any other mainline Pokemon game, you'll be collecting gym badges here. However, the way you go about collecting these gym badges is just a little bit different. Not in the sense that you fight a trainer and get these gym badges, but rather the fights are going to take place in real time. This is kind of jarring for the Pokemon world, which has been so used to turn-based for as long as I can remember. But it also adds a new, interesting, maybe more lifelike approach to Pokemon. If you're a fan of the anime TV series, then you'll know that very rarely do Pokemon ever take turns in battling. Now for Pokemon Masters, you'll have this move gauge that'll have 2 moves, and it'll fill up gradually over time. Now you'll go ahead and tap on the screen to select a move, and you can even pair it with other moves to create sync combos, which will have devastating effects. Pokemon Masters will feature nearly every major player in the Pokemon world as a sync pair. I'm talking about Cynthia and Garchomp, Iris and her Haxorus, and then Brendan and his Trico. And of course, a plethora of others that will be announced moving forward. I'm really excited for this game, and I would encourage you to go and check out some of the gameplay footage of this so that you can get as excited as I am. I mean, it's called Pokemon Masters, and I know it's my destiny to be a Pokemon Master. Let's move on to the big announcement of 2019. The 8th gen mainline Pokemon entry is coming to Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Sword and Shield will be released November 15th, 2019, and I am unbelievably excited for these games. Pokemon Sword and Shield take place in a brand new region called the Galar region. Now, this is a Pokemon version of the United Kingdom. A staple of any mainline Pokemon entry is the starter Pokemon, and Galar's starter Pokemon don't disappoint. They are the Fire Rabbit Scorbunny, the Grass Monkey, Grookey, and the Water-type Chameleon, Sobble, who has broken the internet. I mean, just type in Sobble and you'll find all the people who are already in love with this creature and can't wait to just give it a hug and make it feel better. But don't let that fool you. Grookey and Scorbunny are just as worthy as your hugs as Sobble is. Aside from the starter Pokemon, we also got a good look at some of the other new, unique Galar Pokemon that will be coming in Sword and Shield. One of them is Wooloo, the sheep Pokemon, who I personally am a big fan of. After all, don't you want to defeat your enemies with a big ball of fluff? Gossifleur, a fancy, flower-like Pokemon. Dreadnought, who is a sharp, spiky, turtle-looking Pokemon. And Corviknight, who I thought looked really cool, but then was kind of disappointed to find out he's kind of the taxi of the Galar region. But that does answer the question of how you're going to get around from town to town quickly. It's by taking the Galar taxi, otherwise known as Corviknight. Pokemon Sword and Shield introduced 2 new legendaries to the games. They are Zacian, the sword Pokemon, and Zamazenta, the shield Pokemon. They both resemble a wolf and are quite unique looking, but not very distinct from one another. Zacian holds a sword in his mouth, and Zamazenta has a mane that resembles a shield, but otherwise, their body forms and color schemes are very similar. This is odd because in past Pokemon titles, the 2 legendaries have been very different from one another. In the Ruby and Sapphire games, you had Kyogre, who was a blue whale, and then Groudon, a bipedal, bright red, dinosaur-like creature. You had Dialga and Palkia, once again one being bipedal and the other being a quadruped, with 2 opposing color schemes. Continuing down the line of games, the Pokemon legendaries have always been distinctly different from each other, but they do look very similar in Sword and Shield. Some people think it's a problem, others think it was just lazy animation, but there are also those who appreciate how cool the new legendaries look. I think that call is up to the player to decide. For me personally, though, I would have liked to see a little variant in between the 2 legendaries. Galar also has a couple new areas to explore, and they're not like your normal Pokemon game area. I'm of course referring to the Wild area, which is this big open space where trainers can battle Pokemon, explore, and even team up with other trainers. That's right, there is a multiplayer feature to Pokemon Sword and Shield. This multiplayer feature is going to work a lot like the Pokemon raids that you see in Pokemon Go, by which I mean that trainers are going to join together to fight a big, powered-up version of a normal Pokemon. And some of these powered-up Pokemon unlock finding that specific Pokemon in the wild. For example, let's say you can't find a Wobbuffet until you've battled him in one of these raid battles. An important part of these raid battles is Dynamaxing. As a matter of fact, this is an important part of the entire 8th Gen games. Dynamaxing is Sword and Shield's answer to Z-moves. What it does is it allows you to literally supersize your Pokemon for 3 turns, during which the Pokemon's moves are max variants. For example, if you Dynamax your Raichu, it grows to be about 3 stories tall, and then it would know Max Thunder, Max Lightning Bolt, as opposed to the normal moves. Of course, the damage is amplified during this time, and it adds a new aspect to battling. Some people are upset about Dynamaxing, saying that it's just another gimmick that they're adding to the battles, instead of putting real work into the Pokemon game. But I'm interested to see how Dynamaxing will work out in the raid battles, where only one player gets to Dynamax their Pokemon, and I'm interested to see the impact it'll have in gym battles, because I just know that I'm going to get down to the gym leader's last Pokemon, and they'll choose that moment to use a Super Potion and Dynamax. And after that, I'll probably have to go grind for a little bit. There are plenty of new characters in the Galar region as well. A new rival who is named Hop, and has an older brother that is actually the Pokemon League champion. The professor for this region is Professor Magnolia, and her assistant is named Sonia. There's not a whole lot known about them yet, and I don't want to know. Let Professor Magnolia be a surprise when I meet her. Trainer outfit customization is back. This is nothing new, but it's something that I'm beginning to consider a staple to the Pokemon games. Ever since its inception in X and Y, I've spent an unreasonable amount of time editing how my character looks. Now, I know that might sound vain to some, but it's also an enjoyable pastime when you tire from the explorations, finding Pokemon, battling Pokemon, and catching Pokemon. From a technical aspect, Pokemon Sword and Shield was designed as the counterbalance to Pokemon Let's Go. By that I mean that Pokemon Let's Go was designed with the console in mind as opposed to the handheld version. They wanted to exemplify that the Switch could be played as a console on your TV. Pokemon Sword and Shield, however, will emphasize more on handheld play. How exactly that'll come across, I don't know. Personally, the whole console emphasis in Pokemon Let's Go went right over my head, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I mentioned that there are plenty of new Pokemon in the Galar region, but there is one thing about these Pokemon that has a lot of fans upset. It doesn't have anything to do with the Pokemon themselves, but rather the lack of the old Pokemon. In what players are calling Drexit, it's been revealed that the Pokédex will no longer contain every Pokemon from all the old games. Previous titles have stacked upon one another, allowing you to catch every Pokemon from every previous game in the newest iteration. The exception to this was Pokemon Black and White, in which after completing the game you could unlock an area where previous regions' Pokemon were found, but you couldn't find every Pokemon in that area. Now, I know a lot of people weren't happy with that, and even more people are unhappy that Pokemon Sword and Shield will have a similar effect. That's all the Pokemon news I have for today, but I do have one more thing I want to talk about. As an incentive to get more subscribers to my channel, if I can reach 3,000 subscribers by the time November rolls around, I'll do a Pokemon Sword and Shield giveaway. That's right, I'll give away one copy of Pokemon Sword and a copy of Pokemon Shield. A first place winner will get to choose which copy they want, and the second place winner will receive the other copy. Now, all you have to do is talk to your friends or anyone else who you think might enjoy watching and have them subscribe to the channel. And that's all you have to do to enter for the giveaway as well. So again, if we hit 3,000 subscribers by the time November rolls around, I will do a Pokemon Sword and Shield giveaway. So talk to your friends, tweet about it on Twitter, whatever you have to do to get that subscriber count up. I'd also love to do more giveaways in the future, but of course that'll only be if you guys are really interested in what's going on here and you want to see more of those. So I hope you all have a great night.